Less than a month away from the National Football Foundation Scholar Athlete Banquet in downtown Toledo. And to talk about that event, welcome in the president of the Toledo Wistert chapter of the NFF, Jim Shaw. Jim, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for having us. And we really are excited about this, especially with the new renovated Glass City Center.
We'll get into all the festivities coming up on March 20th. But first, let's talk a little about the bigger picture of what the NFF does and specifically what the Toledo Wistert chapter does.
Yeah, the National Football Foundation, one of their big target is Hall of Fame. So we know the Collegiate Hall of Fame is one of the things that they recognize in all Hall of Famers. What the Toledo Wistert chapter is going to do this year is actually recognize two of our Hall of Famers that were just inducted, Chuck Ely and Coach Gary Pinkel. So yeah, it's the local chapter. What we focus on is a scholar athlete. This year we have 62
Wow.
scholar athletes. Our first year we had 7 honorees. This year we have 62. So it's really grown in the popularity of sport, and the success of our teams in Northwest Ohio really is second to none.
You mentioned it, we've got Chuck Ely and Gary Pinkel coming in as the keynote speakers. You look through the roster of people who have spoken at this banquet, you guys get big names each and every year. You can't get much bigger than 2 recent Hall of Famers with very deep Toledo ties.
No question about it. And what's really neat on this whole process is that Christine Brennan will be there to introduce Chuck Ely, who she sat in the stands and watched him play with her father. So it's really full circle.
Yeah, Christine Brennan, the Toledo native, columnist for USA Today. She has written long and a lot about her Chuck Ely experience and what Chuck Ely has meant for her, what Chuck Ely meant for the University of Toledo and the Glass City as a whole. So on March 20th, we're getting 3 great speakers for the price of 1.
That's correct. Yeah, March 20th, we're basically going to kick it off with a dinner, 6 o'clock, 6:30. And it's one of those events that draws a lot of people. So we range anywhere from 600 up to 1,000 people, depending on the speaker and the event and the weather. And we're hoping that we're going to have good weather and a great turnout.
The last couple of years, 2020, 2021, we couldn't do the banquet like we would like to have had done it, able to get back to normal in 22. 23, it's even bigger and better.
It's going to be great, and especially with, like we said, the renovated Glass City Center. And with our speaker lineup and the potential to have more scholar athletes show up than we've ever had.
Let's talk about your connection to football. We think of the NFF, and certainly there's a lot of former coaches that are involved in the NFF locally. You're a football official at the Big Ten level. How did you get involved in the NFF? Yeah,
we actually have a board of directors, and 3 of us are football officials. Myself, Bob Wagner, who's a former NFL official, and Ron Kay, who's also a Big Ten official. It's just one of those opportunities that I saw some of the people on the board. Actually, Bob Eberle, our executive director for years, he and I, we go way back to our kids going to school together. So I knew Bob for a while, and I was associated with the board. But yeah, being an official and being around the coaches, we're really a team. I mean, it's a team effort. We need more officials. One of the things we always try to talk to the scholar athletes, we'll talk to them beforehand, how many are ever interested in officiating, and we might get 1 or 2 that raise their hands. So we're just trying to raise the bar on the scholar athletes. We're trying to raise the bar on the type of officials we're looking for. And it's really a great place to recruit those that may want to officiate.
How have you seen this crisis of officiating, not having enough officials, how have you seen that manifest itself the last few years?
Yeah, unfortunately, we think of Friday night football. Well, if you can't get enough officials on Friday night, we have to go to Thursday night, or we have to go to Wednesday night for these high school games, and it's really unfortunate. And that's what's starting to happen, not only in Ohio, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and a lot of places around us. But for that, it's a nationwide epidemic.
And the issue isn't just not having enough officials on Friday nights, but if you don't have enough officials for the JV games, they're not getting trained and they're not being able to work up to the varsity. So it's really not only a crisis now, but it's going to get even worse unless we start getting more and more officials.
Yeah, it's good to have the fillers, good to have the gaps where we're with the youth. One of the things as experienced officials, we try to go back and we try to either train or develop other mentors where we want to be out there on the floor or out there on the field with the officials to really help them out.
All right, I want to thank you very much, Jim Shaw, the president of the Toledo Wistert chapter of the National Football Foundation. Again, coming up this March the 20th, the NFF Scholar Athlete Banquet downtown at the renovated Glass City Convention Center, and we'll have Chuck Ely, Gary Pinkel, and Christine Brennan all speaking. How can folks get tickets for the event?
Yeah, nfftoledo.com. That's the quickest way. They can send an email to nfftickets@gmail.com.
There you have it. And you'll be able to see and hear from those Hall of Famers coming up next month right here in the Glass City. Jim, thank you very much.
Thank you.